Hello everyone, this is Turin here, and welcome to another entry in our Community Cast series. In this game, we're going to have a showdown between Bretonnia, who's going to be led by Iconic Universe, and he's going to be facing off against the Greenskins, who are going to be helmed by I Can Fly. I Can Fly. It's funny because he actually has like a bunch of Doom Divers too, but anyways guys, let's go ahead and take a look at the army compositions, and we can go from there. So for Bretonnia in the front line, they do have the Sacrificial Lambs, the two Peasant Mobs. So it looks like these guys, based on the staggering of their formation, are just going to be running headlong into a front line of Savage Orc Biggins and Orc Biggins. So definitely a good time for these guys. Aside from that, he does have some Spearmen at Arms and Battle Pilgrims in the back. So the Spearmen at Arms, I'm thinking he might want to be like using them to like detach in the front to help deal with like Wolf Riders or Orc Boy Biggins, but he may end up using them in the front, and regardless, they do have 31 melee defense, so they're not complete pushovers. They can like stand and fight for a little bit, but still, they will get crushed by pretty much any Orc infantry. Battle Pilgrims are also a very good choice against the Orcs. Good combat stats, high melee attack, high weapon strength, decent little charge bonus for an infantry unit, and can definitely trade pretty well with, Savage Orcs and things like that. I don't think they have a physical resist, but they do have Frenzy, so while the Frenzy is active, they're going to be immune to Psychology. And near a Grail Reliquary, these guys will just fight to the bitter end. 109 leadership right now. In the back, he does have a bunch of Foot Squires, and Foot Squires aren't bad against the Greenskins, though Foot Squires do actually lose to regular Savage Orcs like head up. So again, they're going to get crushed even harder by the Savage Orc Biggins. I wonder how they would do against Orc Biggins. That's actually a test I haven't done, but still, maybe he was expecting some sort of a like mind game action, some Black Orcs, but I probably would have gotten more Battle Pilgrims, but guys, let's see how it works out. He does also have the Fey Enchantress with the 2 healing abilities and the Chalice of Potions, and the Mighty Green Knight, so definitely a very good pick by our friend here. The Green Knight is so tough to deal with for the Greenskins, and honestly, I think that with the Green Knight, like a fix could be for like, the Greenskins, just make it so Wurzog does magic attacks, because, again, you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but from a lore perspective, he is kind of like a magic user, right? So if you think he can like magic attacks like the Fey Enchantress, I think that would solve the problem, because then he would be able to chunk out the Green Knight pretty effectively. He does have some Pox arrows in the back, definitely like that pick against the Greenskins. On top of that, he does have Royal Pegasus Knights and the Mighty Grail Knights. So you don't see a lot of Grail Knights. A lot of times people will get, the Knights of the Realm because they're cheaper, but still Grail Knights are just so gangster. Hit like trucks, 82 charge bonus, great combat stats, and I believe they do have Living Saints, which makes them immune to Vigor. So let's see how they do today. So for the Greenskin player, he does actually have the Moon Howlers over here. I definitely like these guys. The extra fear against like peasant type units, I feel like that could be pretty good. So yeah, cool pick there. Aside from that, he does have Savage Orc Biggins in the front line mixed in with Savage Orcs. So it's just a wild Savage front line. He actually does have some Black Orcs, so the Black Orcs will, get beaten down pretty effectively by 3 groups of the Foot Squires if he's able to kind of make that matchup happen. On top of that, he does have a Doom Diver Catapult here and the Hammer of Gork, so both of these picks are pretty good. I would say this is kind of a healthy amount of range units to have. Either you're going to have like the Rusty Airs and some Goblins and maybe 1 artillery piece, but you don't want to have too much because Bretonnia is a mobile faction, so they can definitely get around and pressure you with like Pegasus Knights and other things like that. So last but not least, he has some Orc Boars, and I think he does have the Broken Tusk Mob somewhere. No, I don't think he does actually. So just these guys and the Moon Howlers. So without further ado, guys, let the games begin. So over here in the back, we do have the Doom Divers who are already firing. You can see that the Hammer of Gork and these guys are going to be tearing into these Battle Pilgrims. You can see some very solid contact. So it looks like he is targeting these guys. I don't know if that was just the AI going for them right away, but still, their leadership is pretty much impeccable with that Grail Reliquary. So looks like the Doom Diver is going to be targeting some of these other troops right now. So probably splitting his fire. And I find that to be pretty effective. So if you have like 2 artillery pieces, I don't like to focus the same unit as much. I like to kind of work down 2 different units. It just seems a little bit more cost effective for me. Granted, there are circumstances when there's like Crimson Killas or something like that that you want to focus completely down. So Doom Divers continuing to pepper these guys pretty effectively. They have their shields up, but I don't think they're going to help very much against the Doom Divers flying in there. That's a lot of mass coming in at you. The Pegasus Knights are going to be pushing the front right here. It looks like they're going to be kind of sneaking around doing some early scouting, but they do get discovered. Well, they do discover the Rusty Airs. So the Rusty Airs will do pretty good damage against these guys. They only have 80 armor, which is a decent amount, but when that gets sundered by the Rusty Airs, it's going to, do some serious peppering to these guys. So they're at 50 armor, taking about 7 or 8% of their HP and damage just from 1 volley. So very, very good stuff there. Doom Divers actually aren't a bad choice to use after the Pegasus Knights. That's something else I've had done against me, is like Doom Divers will chase these guys down and just kind of poke them out of the skies. So guys, it is time for the Sacrificial Lambs just to charge into the front. These peasants, 33 move speed isn't bad, but man, these guys are just in for a bad time right now. So at the very least, maybe they'll, exert a little bit of energy from these Greenskins, but they are going to get massacred What I probably would have done is like keep them a little bit closer to the other infantry, but over here you can see the Moon Howlers are going to meet these Grail Knights head on, and they're just going to get wrecked. That is such punishment. But you guys see a fat Foot of Gork coming down? Is that what that is? It's either a healer or a Foot of Gork. So a Foot of Gork comes down, does massive damage. So very, very well played by the Greenskin player. That was awesome bait. So for a second I was like, why is he doing that? And I'm like, oh wait, I remember. He has Warzog. So that was awesome. But still, they did lose a lot of models. So if the Bretonnian player can get a heal off on those Grail Knights, it'll be very good. Over here, the peasant mobs, as we foresaw, just got completely massacred. So the Savage Orcs are just going to chase these guys down right now and just cut them to pieces. But now the real Bretonnian infantry are coming in, the Battle Pilgrims, the Foot Squires in the back, and you can see the Fey Enchantress does pop an Earthblood on these guys to kind of top them off. Because they didn't lose a lot of models, so they will get a very, very good value out of that heal. So the Battle Pilgrims in here on the front line are going to fight, but they still will get massacred. I mean, Battle Pilgrims are good, but Savage Orc Biggins and Orc Biggins can both beat them 1-for-1. And, you know, with Warzog in here as well. And I'm pretty sure he has the Bonewood Staff, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, these guys are just going to be monsters. You can see their melee attack is 170 right now, pretty much guaranteeing they're going to make contact. And they instantly shattered those Battle Pilgrims. So some Foot Squires come in. A little bit of a trickle down here, which is a little bit tough. So I would have liked to see those guys engage at the same time as those Foot Squires. But still, it looks like he's trying to like keep some troops on auxiliary and kind of see where his wounds are coming on the battlefield and then recover from there. So pretty cool stuff. Over here we do have two groups of Foot Squires, so very well played by the Bretonnian player, making sure that those troops are on the correct targets. You can see the Doom Divers coming in here. It's going to be a pretty wild fight, but with the Fey Enchantress and her Mist of the Lady, heavy armor piercing damage, and then those heals, of course, they're going to be able to beat these Black Orcs pretty handily. So it looks like the Bretonnian forces are probably going to win on this point of the battlefield, but they have heavily lost over here. And on that note, you do see he does send the Green Knight over here. Excuse me. So the Green Knight gets in there with the favor of the Fae, and it's going to do a pretty good job kind of poking these guys down. And once it does break their frenzy, it'll terror out a lot of these guys. So the Green Knight is just so tough to deal with. But it looks like he has gotten it down pretty low. It's down to about half health. So the Biggins with their anti-large are also, you know, even though he does have that ethereal damage resist, they're starting to get through him pretty effectively. You can see a nice Chalice of Potions coming down from the Bretonnian player, and another great Foot of Gork from the Greenskin player, just ravaging these Grail Knights. So man, that guy is just on point with his Foot of Gork this game. So these guys are pretty much taken out of commission. And they do have 57 kills, but these Savage Orcs are kind of chasing them down, beating them down as they're trying to escape. And you can see these Grail Knights unfortunately have failed their quest to an extent and are just going to get absolutely massacred by these guys. Because Savage Orc Biggins, though they don't have heavy armor piercing, they do have a pretty big anti-large, I think. It's actually, well, I guess it's only 8, but still their combat stats are good. And those Grail Knights do get driven off the battlefield. So guys, the battle's looking pretty grim for Bretonnia. They have lost a lot. You can see they do have the Fey Enchantress and the Grail Reliquae in here kind of holding, but a lot of these Foot Squires are being just chased down and just savaged by these Savage Orcs. I guess the pun was definitely intended there, but these Savage Orcs doing a very good job, and they already beat Foot Squires 1-1. You can also see some of these artillery pieces still online, so Bretonnia was not able to get back there. In the Pegasus Knights earlier, I didn't really get a chance to show you guys, but they did kind of try and dive the back line and get after these missiles, but they were kind of jumped by the Orc Boars and jumped on by some Savage Orcs as well. So the Greenskin player are also buffing with 58 weapon strength on Ere We Go. So it's pretty much just the Fey Enchantress in here versus the world. She's in a very, very dire situation, but man, she has some very cool attack animations. Like sometimes the Fey Enchantress will like pick troops up, and let's see what she does. A little bit of Dragon Ball Z action going on right here. Some of that Kamehameha. But she's going to start blasting these guys. I think she's casting another heal, so unfortunately we're not going to get a chance to see an attack animation. But yeah, she's taking huge damage, and she doesn't even get the cast off. She takes some huge beatdown from those guys. She only has 15 armor, so against like these heavy-hitting, high DPS, low armor piercing units, she's not going to hold. So the balance of power very heavily in favor of the Greenskin player at this point. You can see the Green Knight over here is on the run, on the hunt, and he got healed to full health. So very good foresight by the Bretonnian player, realizing that a lot of his troops were going down, so might as well spend all of your resources on the Green Knight who can definitely be your hero. So he's going to get a rear charge into some of these Biggins. And one issue that, you know, could happen here is that a lot of the Greenskin units are low. Their leadership is almost low enough to the point where, you know, they can start getting chain terror routed, which can, you know, tilt very heavily. So guys, you can see that the Orc Biggins and these guys, they do get an FG of the get. Well, not the Biggins, but Warzog gets the FG of the get in the Green Knight. So he's taking a lot of magic damage. He does pop his Dolores Blade, which gives him some pretty good stats, and the favor of the Fae. So the Fey Enchantress using her death throws over here to kind of buff her friend, and she's coming in for one last heroic charge on her Unicorn, which does have 95 move speed. So you can see some Doom Divers are also shooting at her over there. And the Hammer of Gork is just like shooting point blank. So it's basically just the Green Knight, but it looks like another Chalice of Potions coming down from the Fey Enchantress. So this thing is going to wreck these guys. They're just densely packed. It's going to do some massive damage. So just check this out. Let's look at their HP. Take note, guys. Just kind of remember those numbers and then just look at that. So Actually, that didn't do as much as it did against the greatswords in that other game I showed you guys a few days ago, but man, that did some good work against those black orcs for sure. So the Fey Enchantress does come in here, a bit of a last stand, but she's probably just going to get dragged down to the pits by this foul green tide with their anti-large bonuses, and since she is on her unicorn, she does count as a large unit. So is she actually going to get away here? Looks like she might squeak away with her 48 HP, so she's just out of here. So it'd be funny if like a Doom Diver just went after her, but guys, something truly insane is about to happen. So guys, note this bounce of power. It's so incredibly low. This has got to be one of the most ridiculous changes of power I've ever seen in a Total War Warhammer replay. So the Green Knight, he's able to actually kill Wurzog. He gets on Wurzog, or I'm not sure if he kills him, but he gets a great attack, and Wurzog is broken. And just look at the Greenskins all running. There's so many of them, and the Green Knight is actually somewhat low too. He's at about like 30% of his HP, and if these guys didn't run and just stood and fought, they would be able to kill this guy. But guys, the terror is just happening. The Greenskin units are just starting to chain route across the board. You can see all these troops are kind of pulling back. What he probably wanted to do is like pull the rusty arrows over here and like fire at the Green Knight and then re-engage and maybe a cycle charge, let the Doom Diver and the Hammer of Gork shoot at him. But man, this terror routing is just insane, and Wurzog is broken, so they're getting the penalty from their leadership fleeing, and I can't believe it. This actually looks like the Bretonnian player might be able to pull this game out. So a little bit of attrition, guys, so we're going to fast forward. So you can see the Green Knight is just chasing down these routing units, making sure they're not coming back, and what that does is it triggers this like vicious cycle of just chain routing here, as a lot of these Greenskin troops actually are fleeing off the battlefield, and just look at that rapid shift in the bounce of power, and he's not even fighting. He's just riding around like terror routing some of these units, and just an insane comeback, and just truly a testament to how insanely powerful the Green Knight is against the Greenskins. It is just a little bit absurd. Something I think that they could do is make like, I mean, Wurzog is the correct pick. The effigy of the Get was there, and there were some things the Greenskin player could have done differently that would have won him the game in terms of that like late game there. You know, he was fighting melee with Wurzog, and he allowed Wurzog to take a lot of damage, which then started triggering army losses. If he had just sat back with Wurzog and used like Fists of Gork, he would have won that battle probably. But still, I mean, the Green Knight was just so MVP and very well played by both Iconic Universe and I Can Fly. It was just an awesome game by both players. But just make like Wurzog do magic damage, or you know, some of those other like Azog should do magic damage as well. But Azog is, in my opinion, a very good pick against Bretonnia because Fate of Buna, number one, very good against Grail Knights, and Spirit Leech can like 3-shot the Green Knight. So that's probably what I would start bringing in this matchup. You know, just put Azog on foot and run him with your army. Granted, he is a pretty squishy target, so the Green Knight can hunt him, but Spirit Leech just wrecks the Green Knight so hard. But regardless, I had to show you guys that game. It was just one of the most insane shifts of the bounce of power I have seen since you know, my time casting, which actually on July 2nd. So this game will probably come out like, you know, July 7th or 8th, but it's actually July 2nd. So this is actually the year anniversary game, I suppose. But yeah, crazy stuff, guys, crazy stuff. But again, well played to both players. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that cast, and I got more content coming soon.